Let me tell you something almost nobody knows about my marriage. People stop us after church. They pull us aside. They just whisper things like, you two are goals. They send us messages saying, oh, we want what you have. They see the laughter. They see the way we look at each other after all these years. They see two people who seems like they were made for each other. But they don't know the full story. They don't know the full story. They don't know what, they don't even know that the first time I asked this woman to marry me, hmm, she said no. She looked at me straight in my eye and she turned me down flat, flat. She turned me down flat. And that rejection, that no, that shattered me, hmm, it became the single greatest thing that had ever happened to our marriage. Welcome to His and Hers. I'm your host, Ayodeji Ajayi. Ajayi. And this is the first episode of His and Hers, a podcast that God just laid in my heart to start. So I want to personally welcome you to the first episode of Is and Us. Within this episode, we have a series that I am going to be starting with. The series is titled I Still Do. I Still Do. We're going to have like 12 episodes within this series, and we'll move to another series. And I'm glad you are here with me. You are not going to regret it. You are not going to regret it. You are not going to regret it. So this podcast exists because of a moment I'll never forget. About 7 years ago, we invited a guest minister to minister in our church. This was a woman of remarkable grace. She stepped up to the pulpit that Sunday morning. She paused and smiled and said 11 words that changed the trajectory of our entire marriage. Hmm. You want to know what she said? She said, I am not enduring my marriage. I am enjoying my marriage. You know, there was no performance. There was no polish. It was just pure. There's this unfiltered joy radiating from a woman who had found something real. And from where I sat, I felt it. I felt it. It hit me like a wave. He said, I am not enduring my marriage. I am enjoying my with a sack, with a swag, with a swag. She said it with a swag. And she was so excited about it. No, the reason why I know this woman was real is that I've met with her. We have sat down, discussed. I see the excitement which she talked about her husband and their relationships. It's enviable. It's enviable. It's enviable. So now, uh, here's the thing. Before I had this, my marriage was good. I would even say very good because by most standard, it was great. We are stable, we're respectful, we're loving, we enjoyed ourselves, we enjoy each other's company. But when she said this word, I realized that there was something about that statement that was missing in what we had. you know, it's really dawned on me. I realized that if I was to describe my own relationship, you know, It was not going to be with the same fire and the same swag, and it was not going to be with the same sparkle. So something woke up in me that day, not a longing for good, not a longing for great, but a longing for glorious. I wanted the same kind of experience, of the same kind of marriage that makes heaven lean in and smile, the kind you just have, the kind you just don't have, rather, the kind you live. And that hunger, that holy discontent, it sent me on a journey. I became a student again. I read, I prayed, I listened, I tested, I wrestled. And what I found transformed everything. So this series and the book it's based on, that is, I just wrote a book, a complete book on this titled Marriage is Partnership. It's me handling you every single thing that I've discovered. Not theory, not fluff. The living truth, forged in trenches of real love. It's just me handing over the things I've discovered over years after this incident. So whether your marriage is thriving and you want more, or whether it's barely surviving and you are wondering if there's any hope left, I want you to hear me clearly. Hear me clearly. It is not too late. Say that to yourself. It is not too late. If you can even put it in the chat now, it is not too late. Your marriage can be revived, it can be rebuilt, and it can be reborn. Mm. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. I know that your ear will be itching to hear the full story. And I'm warning you, this part is going to surprise you. Very, very surprising. I just chose to start with this story to build a foundation on which all the series are going to be built upon. This part is going to surprise you. Now, my wife and I, we met during our youth service. They call it National Youth Service Corps. It was a program for graduates that is designed to bridge cultural divides, promote unity, and build natural service in for through young people to just serve their community. Thousands of graduates is sent across the country. They serve together. Ironic, isn't it? So now it's just that in the midst of this wonderful program built to cultivate unity, that's where God planted a seed of the seed of a divine partnership in my heart. Mm. I remember the first time I saw her. I still very fresh in my brain right now. I remember the first time I said she was in the middle of a crowd. She was standing all by herself. I was coming back from a drill, tired, like that, just in a hurry to go to my hostel, you know, and I'm not going to romanticize this. I didn't hear angels singing. There was no violin playing, but something did happen. God whispered to my hearing as clear as the day, unmistakably. God, I hear God clearly. That is your wife. That is your wife. And instead of falling into my knees, instead of being excited, you know what I did? I argued with God. To some of you, you said, "Oh, I bind the devil." Yeah, because that was not a spiritual taunt for me. Now, the truth about it is that it's not because she wasn't okay. She was very beautiful. She was stunning, radiant, but she wasn't tall. And to me, that mattered. She wasn't tall. That mattered. Let me tell you why it mattered to me. Because growing up, I was shorter than most of the kids in my class. Not because of genetics, but because I started school unusually young. And this didn't stop the teasing. My colleagues, they teased me. I was overlooked, I was underestimated, and I was bullied, brutally bullied. And somewhere in the thick of that pain, I made a vow, a childhood vow. I made this vow. I carved it from a wounded places. And I said to myself, my children will never have to go through what I went through. My children will never have to go through what I went through. And in my young, wounded mind, that vow translated into one single thing, marry a tall woman. That was when I made up my mind. I put it everywhere. I said, if the time I'm going to marry, it's going to be a very tall lady. That was my criteria. That was my non-negotiable criteria. That was my protection plan against a pain I never fully healed from. So when God said, that's your wife, and she didn't fit in, she didn't fit the mold I built from brokenness, I folded my hands and I said, God, seriously, surely you got jokes. That was my response. Now, I want to pause here. I want to pause here because some of you listen to me right now just felt something. That story, I know that story would have hit you close. Maybe it wasn't height for you. Maybe it was a skin tone. Maybe it was tribe or family background or educational level or income. Maybe you've been carrying a checklist you wrote down in pain and call it a standard. And I need to ask you gently, what childhood vow have you been carrying that's quietly shaping who you accept and who you reject? Let me repeat myself for emphasis. What childhood vow have you been carrying that's quietly shaping who you accept and who you reject? Hold that thought for a while. We are going to come back to it very soon. Now, to continue the stories, I know your ear is itching to hear the rest of it. I'm going to be generous. I'm going to tell you almost everything. So now we became close friends. We talked for hours. We laughed easily. And we dreamt out louder. There was something magnetic about the way our minds connected. She had this calm steadiness that anchored my impulsive drive. Our strength fills the gap in my weakness. It's like where I was weak is where she was strong. Where I was strong, I feel that's where she was weak. And a vision for ministry mirrored mine, even before I even voiced it out. It was like watching a divine blueprint unfold in real time. But deep down, I was sabotaging it, intentionally sabotaging it. So every step of the way, I was sabotaging it. I always threw in sarcastic jabs to keep distance. I acted indifferent when my heart was elicited, but I kept my feelings locked behind the walls I built with childhood bricks. Because how could she be my wife? How could she? She didn't fit into the profile. When she didn't fit the criteria, I carved from my pain. So some of you right now, you are not single, you are married. And you are doing exact same thing. You are sabotaging something God is trying to build because it doesn't look like what you expected. You are pushing away the very person God designed to complete you because they don't match the picture you painted from a wounded place. But here is what I learned, and this is very important. You know what? Purpose has a way of sneaking past your pride. Purpose has a way of sneaking past your pride. Months went by, and everything about this woman kept confirming what God has said to me. Our character, our heart, our calling, and the way she perceived the world. She wasn't just compatible, she was completing. She was completing. So finally, I dropped the walls. I swallowed my pride and took a deep breath. I asked her to marry me. You know what? She said no. When I asked her to marry, she said no. That was, I don't know whether it was because that was the first no I ever gotten from a lady. That was the first rejection that I've ever gotten from a lady. I was stunned. I was angry. I was confused. And if I'm being brutally honest, at the same time, strangely, I was a little relieved because the part of me whispered, maybe this isn't God. I was wishing it's not God. God's will after all. Maybe I'm wrong. I actually like the narrative that will prove that I'm wrong. So after this, we actually couldn't find a common ground. So we drifted apart. There was no closure. There was no dramatic goodbye, just silence and space, and the kind of ache that doesn't scream. It just hums quietly in your chest. Now, here's what I couldn't see then. Here's what I couldn't see then. And this is the part of the story that changed everything for me. She wasn't saying no to me. I didn't see that then. It was later on, after years went by. She wasn't saying no to me. She was saying no to a man without purpose. She was saying no to a man without purpose. See, she had her own divine assignment. She was so sure about what God has called her to do, where she is going to end up her life, the kind of man God will have her married. And there's this a quiet but unshakable conviction that she was created for ministry. And from a vantage point, all I have shown her was a man with charm but no calling, a man with feelings but no direction, a man who liked her but hadn't found himself yet. And I know was really a yes to a purpose. She wasn't saying no to me. She was saying yes to purpose. So our decision wasn't about emotions. It was about alignment. So she didn't reject me. She didn't reject me. That was what I discovered. She refused to build on a broken foundation. And listen up, listen. I'm talking to somebody right now. I'm talking to somebody right now. Maybe you are the one who said no, or you've been carrying guilt about it. Or maybe you are the one who got rejected and you've been carrying bitterness. Either way, I need you to hear this. Sometimes God uses a no to redirect you towards a bigger yes, capital yes. I said, sometimes God uses a no, whether it is lowercase no or uppercase no. But what I'm sure of, it is to redirect you towards a bigger capital uppercase yes. You know what? That rejection didn't kill our story. It refined it. It forced both of us to go deeper, to ask harder questions, to stop performing and start pursuing purpose. It was a sheer fear of God, a shared fear of God. It was obedience. It was clarity. It was two people leaning fully into what God is doing in them and through them. And suddenly realizing the alignment had been all along there. Let me repeat myself. It was a shared fear of God. It was obedience. It was clarity. And it was two people leaning fully into what God was doing in them and through them. And suddenly realizing the alignment had been there all along. We were on the same page. We just hadn't turned it yet. And now, every moment, every single moment of our marriage, the joys, the late night prayers, the hard conversation, the ministry decisions, the compromises, the sacrifices, the laughters and the tears, all of it, every piece is anchored in one word: purpose. Purpose. We didn't just marry each other. We married into something that God was building. I'm going to expatiate bigger on this statement. But note that we didn't just marry each other. We married into what God was building. Now, and that changes everything. That's the difference between a marriage that looks good and a marriage that is good. That's the difference between existing together and building together. That's the difference between I do and I still do. So here's what I want you to carry away from this story. And this is the foundation of everything we will build together in this series. Most people build their marriages on preferences. It could be height, it could be looks, it could be chemistry, it could be status, it could be compatibility on the paper. But you know what God wants us to build marriage on? God wants to build our marriages on purpose, because that's what God built marriages on: purpose. I want you to know something. Preference change. Attraction fluctuates. Chemistry fades. You know what? But purpose is the compass that keeps love from drifting. It's the engine that keeps a marriage moving, even when feelings stalls. When feeling is stalled, it is the engine that still keeps marriage moving. It's the glue that holds two imperfect people together when everything else tries to pull them apart. So when the why is clear, the how becomes manageable. When the why, why are you getting married? When it is cleared, the how becomes manageable. Think about it. When you know why you are together, suddenly the argument looks different. The differences stop being threats and start becoming tools. The sacrifice stop feeling like losses and start feeling like investment. Because you are not just trying to keep a marriage alive, you are building something that matters. Let me repeat this because it's very important what I just told you. Let me repeat it. I said, when you know why you are together, suddenly the argument looks different. The differences stop being the threats and start becoming the tools. That means the differences between you and I stop being the threat or the enemy. It starts becoming the tools. The sacrifice stop feeling like losses. It starts feeling like investment. Because you are not trying to keep a marriage alive, you are building something that matters. People always ask us all the time, how do you make it look so easy? You want to know the truth? The truth, it is not easy. It is alignment. There's no alignment that is easy. So when you build your marriage on foundation of purpose, the weight of sacrifice becomes lighter. Decision gains clarity. Differences feel like design, and love grows deeper, richer, and more eternal. But without purpose, without shared mission, marriage becomes vulnerable. It drifts into routines, into coexisting. You're just going to be coexisting together. You drift into two people sharing a roof, but not a vision. You grow into two people like a roommate with rings. That's what happens without purpose, without shared mission. And I don't just want that for you. That's why we're here. That's what this series is all about. And that's what this book is about, helping you to find or rediscover the purpose that was there before the wedding day. The purpose God had in mind when he whispered your names together. Before we close, I want to give you a moment, just you, just your heart and the Holy Spirit. No rushing, no performing, just honesty. I'm going to ask you 4 questions. You don't have to answer them aloud, but I want you to sit with them. Let them walk, let them dig, because the truth they uncover might be the beginning of something new. What hidden criteria or childhood womb has been quietly shaping who you choose, who you rejected, and how you treat your spouse? What hidden criteria or childhood womb has quietly shaping who you choose, who you reject, or how you treat your spouse? Are you building your marriage on preferences or on purpose? Can you identify a moment where you stopped enjoying your marriage and started merely enduring it? What changed? If God whispered to you right now about your marriage, would you listen or would you fold your arms like I did? Whatever came up for you just now, don't push it down. That's not conviction to run from. That's an invitation to lean into. God doesn't expose things to shame you. He exposed them to heal you. I started this episode by telling you she said no. And this is the truth. The truth is, if she hadn't said no, if she just said yes to a man without purpose, we probably may have had a marriage that looks fine on the outside, stable, respectable, and fine. But we wouldn't have this. I cannot trade what we have to what I said we could have had. We wouldn't have a marriage that is on a mission, that is built on a mission, a partnership forged in calling, a love that makes us better individually, because it is anchored in something bigger than both of us. And no saved our marriage. And your willingness to ask the hard question right now, that might save yours too. Now, here's what I need from you. 3 things that I need from you. Number 1, subscribe to this podcast right now. Subscribe to this podcast right now. Hit follow. This is the episode. This episode is one of a series that is going to walk you through every layers of what it takes to build a marriage that doesn't just survive, it that thrives. It's going to talk about purpose, foundation, conflict, intimacy, forgiveness, money. All of it. We'll touch through all of it. You do not want to miss what is coming. So follow the show wherever you are listening. Be it whether it's Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, TikTok, Instagram. Make sure you follow and turn on notification so you will never miss an episode. Number 2, drop a comment. Drop a comment. Tell me what part of today's episode hit you hardest. Was it childhood vow? Was it rejection? The difference between preference and purpose? I promise I read every single comment and I want to hear your story. I want to hear your honesty because your honesty might be the thing that helps someone else feel less alone. So leave a comment, leave a review, share this episode with a couple who needs to hear it. Tag them, text them the link. You never know what one episode can unlock in someone's marriage. Number 3, this one matters. Get the book. Go get the book. Go grab your own copy. Everything I share today comes from my book, Marriage is Partnership. But what I gave to you today, this is just the surface. We just scratched the surface. The book goes much deeper. It covers purpose. It covers foundation. It covers false foundation that destroys marriage. How to leverage your difference instead of fighting over them. It covers the power of forgiveness. It covers the power of intimacy. It covers the power of sacrifice. And it covers managing money together and so much more. It's a roadmap. It's a toolbox and a companion all in one-stop shop. You can grab your copy right now on Amazon. Just search for Marriage is Partnership. Get one for you, get one for your spouse, get one for the couple you love. You said, I do at the altar. You said, I do. But you can whisper, I still do. In the dark. That's the marriage worth building. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for staying with me. See you in the next episode.